Well, the Labour MP for Aylesbury, Laura Kyrke-Smith, joins me on the line now. Good morning to you, Laura.
Morning, Andy.
As discussed, and we've talked about, you've written to the council. What have you said?
I have written to the council. So since I was elected, I've been writing to the council about particular roads, particular stretches that people have raised with me. I'll always say to residents, make sure you've reported it on Fix My Street so the council hear it directly. But I'll often follow up with a letter and ask them to look into it. But it got to the point where that had happened so many times that I've pulled a whole load of those places and examples together and written them to say something needs to change. This is not good enough that I am hearing from so many residents about the appalling state of the roads, and we're not seeing anything changing. So I've asked that they look at it urgently. They've got the funding in place from central government, so they've got the funding to make the repairs that we need to see. But I've asked that we see results from that work.
But there's only a certain amount of money and resources. I mean, what more could the council do? I mean, you mentioned there that the money has come from, head office. Your government is holding the purse strings. Maybe they could increase local council funding so they could spend a bit more on the roads.
So they've got 104.4 million for highway maintenance over 4 years. It's a really decent chunk of money, and it includes more than 20 million just for this year alone, 2025 and 26. That's money specifically for highway maintenance for these road repairs. So there's a really decent chunk of funding in place. But I think what worries me is I hear from these residents who say, look, I have put it on Fix My Street multiple times. I've reported it repeatedly, and I'm just not seeing anything changing. So I think there's a real gap between that funding that they have got and the results that our residents are actually seeing. And like you just heard from that driver, it's costing people a fortune to have to fix their cars, but it's also dangerous. I'm just really worried about not just the cars, but the drivers. But also if you think about cyclists, if you think about pedestrians, in some places the A41, out from towards Waddesdon from Aylesbury, that's one where I've had a lot of reports recently. And I've driven it myself, and those potholes are so deep and so frequent, and all on that same stretch of road, that your only way around them really is to swerve. And you just think, if we've got cars having to swerve, an accident is going to happen, and this has to get sorted before we're at that point where serious accidents happen.
No, Laura, you're right. 104 million is not to be sniffed at. That's a good old chunk of budget. There is no doubt about it. But let's not forget as well that your government is forcing the council to build 95,000 more homes in that part of the world. That's going to make the roads even worse, isn't it? So maybe 104 million isn't enough.
So that's the budget for the next 4 years, and that's based on the existing number of residents and the existing number of houses. You're totally right, and we've spoken about it before, Andy, but you're totally right that if more houses are going to be built, that's got to be accompanied by the infrastructure, and that's my job, to be making the case to government for that additional funding for infrastructure that we're going to need, and that will come if houses are built once that local plan is agreed. There's a really clear recognition from the government that has to be accompanied by the infrastructure. So I think that's something I'll certainly be working on over the next few years. But I think the point is we're in a moment of crisis really with the state of the roads and the potholes now. The funding is there. I want to see that spent, and I want to see the condition of our roads change. And the Department for Transport, so centrally there's a system of red, amber, green ratings for councils. And Buckinghamshire Council has an amber rating in there. So they're not the worst. They're not on a red like some other councils. But that Department for Transport rating system shows that there is clearly some way to go for them to improve the work that they're doing. It's about the here and now.
Yeah. Talking about the here and now, actually, I mean, did you also mention in your letter, because when they do seem to be doing the repairs and they're out and about, it doesn't seem to be, as a resident and driving around, or trying to drive around, there seems to be no system. Because literally, as we know, it's very easy to make Aylesbury gridlocked. And it just seems there doesn't seem to be any planning of when the work should be done, timing of it, how quick it's being done. And getting around Aylesbury is not as easy as it used to be.
Yeah, it's not. That's totally fair. And there's and some of that is due to pothole repairs. Some of that is due to other works that are going on. And the council is taking some steps, and I really support that, to try and get the road works done done more quickly. So there's something called a lane rental scheme that they've basically applied to government for permission to roll out, and that means they can charge utilities companies more to do the works if it's going to require lanes to be closed, and that should mean that the incentive is for utilities companies to get it done quickly and to be charged less. And so there's a few things they're doing to try and improve the situation. And of course, I'm always going to support those kind of actions, but I'm not seeing that kind of creative thinking and that kind of planning when it comes to the pothole repairs.
As well as your letter, which you know is being well documented, we're also going to be speaking on the breakfast show this morning to Councillor Thomas Broom, who's the head of that department for the roads, in the next hour. Do you have a message for him?
My letter was to him because it's his responsibility to get this fixed. He did write back to me quite quickly. He said, yes, we have got a budget for 120 million for roads. The council's just committed to spending that. So I'm thinking, great, he's confirming that money sits there. My message to him is I want to see results.